The wind howled across the white wasteland of Antarctica as Dr. Elena Vasquez pulled her thick coat tighter around her body. Snow stung her face like tiny needles, but she kept walking toward the strange readings on her scanner. For 3 weeks, her team had been tracking unusual metal signatures deep beneath the ice. Today, they had finally found the source. "Dr. Vasquez, you need to see this," called James, her research assistant. His voice was barely audible over the screaming wind. He stood next to a large machine that was melting through the ice with powerful heat beams. Elena hurried over and looked down into the hole they had created. 20 feet below, something metallic gleamed in the artificial light. But this was not like any metal she had ever seen. It seemed to shift and change color as the light hit it from different angles. "How deep does it go?" she asked. "The ground. Radar shows it extends at least 200 feet in every direction," James replied, checking his instruments. "And it goes down much further than we can measure." Elena felt her heart racing. In her 20 years as an archaeologist, she had never found anything like this. The metal looked too advanced to be from any known civilization, and according to their tests, the ice around it had been frozen for over 30,000 years. The next 2 days, Elena's team worked day and night to melt a wider entrance. When they finally broke through, they found themselves looking down at what was clearly a spacecraft. The ship was massive, stretching far beyond what their lights could reveal. The hull was made of the same strange metal that seemed to shift colors in the light. "This changes everything," whispered Sarah, the team's technology expert. "This proves we are not alone in the universe." Elena was the first to climb down into the ship. Her boots landed on a floor that felt solid, but somehow different from any material she knew. The walls curved upward and seemed to glow with a faint inner light. Strange symbols were carved into the surfaces, flowing like water across the metal. "The air is breathable," announced Tom, their safety officer, checking his instruments. "Actually, it is cleaner than the air outside. Something is still working down here." As they explored deeper into the ship, Elena's team found wonders that made them gasp in amazement. Rooms filled with crystals that hummed with energy. Corridors that seemed to bend space itself, making distances shorter than they should be. And everywhere, the strange, flowing symbols that looked more like art than writing. In what appeared to be the ship's control room, they found their greatest discovery. Banks of crystal computers still glowed with soft light. Holographic displays flickered with star maps showing positions of planets and systems Elena did not recognize. The technology was so advanced that their Earth computers could barely begin to understand how it worked. "Look at this," called Sarah from across the room. She had found what looked like a captain's chair surrounded by glowing panels. "These crystals are storing massive amounts of information. If we could learn to read it, we would know where this ship came from and who built it." Elena approached carefully and placed her hand on one of the crystal panels. Immediately, the room filled with light and sound. Holographic images appeared all around them, showing alien beings that looked somewhat like humans, but were taller and had longer arms. Their skin had a blue tint, and their eyes were larger than human eyes. "They are beautiful," whispered James. The hologram showed these beings working on the ship, traveling through space and visiting different worlds. Elena realized they were watching the ship's log, a record of its journeys through the galaxy. The following weeks, Elena's team made more discoveries. They found living quarters with beds and furniture sized for the alien beings. They discovered a vast library of crystal storage devices containing what appeared to be the knowledge of an entire civilization. Most surprising of all, they found hundreds of sleeping chambers like beds made of the strange shifting metal. "These are cryogenic pods," explained Sarah, "places where beings can sleep for very long periods of time, but they are all empty now." Elena wondered what had happened to the ship's crew. Had they left the ship and walked out into the Ice Age Earth? Had they found another way home? Or had something else happened to them? The team also found the ship's power source, a room filled with crystals the size of trees that pulsed with energy. Tom's instruments showed that these crystals were producing more power than a nuclear plant, and they showed no signs of running down even after 30,000 years. "We need to tell the world about this," Elena told her team during one of their evening meetings in their temporary camp above the ship. "But we need to be careful. This technology could change everything about human civilization. Or destroy it," added Sarah. "This level of advanced technology in the wrong hands could be very dangerous." Elena nodded. She had been thinking the same thing. The ship's computers contained star maps showing faster-than-light travel routes. The power crystals could solve Earth's energy problems forever. The advanced materials could revolutionize construction and manufacturing. But all of this technology could also be turned into weapons more powerful than anything humans had ever created. "We will study everything carefully first," Elena decided. "We will learn as much as we can before we share this discovery with the world. We owe it to humanity to understand what we have found." As the weeks turned into months, Elena's team worked to unlock the ship's secrets. They learned to interface human computers with the alien technology. They began to translate the flowing symbol language. Slowly, they started to understand the story of the ship and its builders. The ship had come from a star system far across the galaxy. Its builders called themselves something that translated roughly as the Travelers of the Void. They had been exploring the galaxy for thousands of years, studying different worlds and the life they found there. Earth had been just one stop on a very long journey, but something had gone wrong. The ship's logs showed that it had crashed during a terrible ice storm. The crew had sealed themselves into the sleeping chambers to wait for rescue that never came. Over the centuries, Earth's changing climate had buried the ship under miles of ice. Elena often stood in the ship's control room late at night, looking at the star maps and wondering about the beings who had built this magnificent vessel. Had others of their kind survived somewhere in the galaxy? Were they still traveling among the stars? She did not know that her questions would soon be answered. Deep in space, instruments had detected the awakening of the ancient ship's systems. Signals were being sent across the galaxy, signals that would reach their intended receivers. The travelers of the void were coming home, and they would want their ship back, along with everything that humanity had learned from it. Elena's discovery would soon change from humanity's greatest opportunity into its greatest challenge. But for now, Elena and her team continued their work, unaware that they had awakened something that had been sleeping among the stars for 30,000 years. 30 years had passed since Dr. Elena Vasquez first climbed into the alien ship beneath the Antarctic ice. The world had changed in ways that once seemed impossible. Cities now gleamed with buildings made from materials that could repair themselves. Cars flew through the air on power that never ran out, and humans lived among the stars. Captain Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the Earthship Horizon, looking out at the red surface of Mars below. The colony there was home to 2 million humans now. Gleaming domes covered the landscape, each one containing entire cities with parks, lakes, and even small forests. Children who had been born on Mars had never breathed Earth's air, yet they were as human as anyone. "Captain, we are receiving a message from the colony on Europa," announced Lisa, his communications officer. Europa was one of Jupiter's moons, covered in ice, but hiding vast oceans underneath. The human colony there had built their cities beneath the frozen surface, in warm caves lit by alien crystal technology. "Put it through," Marcus replied. The holographic screen in front of him filled with the image of Commander Sarah Park, who had once been on Dr. Vasquez's research team. She now led the Europa colony with its 500,000 residents. "Marcus, our deep space sensors are picking up some unusual readings," Sarah said. "Energy signatures that match the old patterns from the Prometheus ship." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. They had named the alien ship Prometheus, after the ancient Greek god who gave fire to humanity. It seemed fitting since the ship had given humans the fire of advanced technology. The ship itself still sat beneath the ice in Antarctica, but now it was surrounded by the largest research facility on Earth. Every day, scientists worked to unlock more of its secrets. Much of the most important technology had been moved to secure facilities around the world. Humanity had learned to create their own versions of the alien crystals, their advanced materials, and even their faster-than-light engines. "How similar are the readings?" Marcus asked. "Very similar. Almost identical," Sarah replied. "Whatever is coming this way, it uses the same technology as our ship." Marcus thanked Sarah and closed the communication. He immediately contacted Earth's Space Defense Command. Humanity now had a fleet of 200 ships capable of faster-than-light travel. Most were exploration vessels, but 50 were military ships designed to protect human colonies from any threats they might encounter. On Earth, Dr. Elena Vasquez was now 70 years old but still sharp and curious. She spent most of her time in the Prometheus research facility, still working to understand the alien language and culture. When she heard about the unusual sensor readings, she felt both excitement and fear. "They are coming back," she told her assistant David, who had been working with her for 15 years. "The builders of the ship. They are returning." "How can you be sure?" David asked. "Look at these star maps," Elena said, pointing to holographic displays that showed the positions of stars and planets. "The ship's computers have been sending signals into space for the past 5 years, signals we did not even know about until now. They have been calling home." Elena had spent decades learning to read the alien language. She now understood that the ship's builders called themselves the Keth Mori, which meant something like those who walk between stars in their language. They had been a peaceful people, explorers who traveled the galaxy to study and learn. But Elena was worried. The technology that had lifted humanity to the stars could also be seen as theft. The Keth Mori had never given permission for humans to use their knowledge. What would happen when they returned to find their ship stripped of its secrets and their technology spread across human space? President Sarah Mitchell called an emergency meeting of Earth's leadership. Representatives from Mars, Europa, and the dozen other human colonies joined the discussion through holographic links. The question before them was simple but frightening. What should humanity do when the aliens returned? "We should welcome them," argued Dr. James Harrison, who now led the Earth Science Council. "They are the reason we have reached the stars. We owe them everything." "We owe them nothing," replied General William Torres, head of Earth's space forces. "We found their abandoned ship. We figured out how their technology worked through our own intelligence and hard work. Everything we have built, we built ourselves." Elena was asked to speak about what humanity might expect from the returning aliens. "The Keth Mori records show they were explorers, not conquerors," she explained. "But they also show they were very proud of their technology and their achievements. They may not be happy to find that we have copied their designs." "Copied?" General Torres said with anger in his voice. "We did not just copy their technology. We improved it. Our ships are faster and more efficient than anything shown in their records. Our colonies are larger and more advanced than what they ever built. We took their basic ideas and made them better." This was true. Human engineers, working without the constraints of Keth Mori tradition and design philosophy, had often found better ways to use the alien technology. Human crystal power cores lasted longer and produced more energy. Human faster-than-light engines were smaller and more reliable. Human colonies could support larger populations in greater comfort. "That may make things worse," Elena warned. "If they see that we have taken their technology and surpassed them, they may feel that their pride and their place in the galaxy have been threatened." Over the following weeks, as the alien energy signatures grew stronger and closer to Earth, humanity prepared for first contact. Scientists worked to create translation programs that could communicate with the Keth Mori language. Diplomats studied everything known about Keth Mori culture to prepare for negotiations. Military leaders quietly moved ships into defensive positions around Earth and the most important human colonies. Captain Marcus Chen was given command of the First Contact Fleet, 12 of humanity's most advanced ships positioned near Earth, but ready to respond to any threat. He spent his days reviewing everything humanity had learned about the Keth Mori, trying to understand who they were and what they might want. The breakthrough came when Dr. Vasquez discovered a section of the Prometheus computers that contained what appeared to be legal and cultural documents. These showed that the Keth Mori had very strict ideas about technology ownership. In their society, the creators of any technology owned it forever, along with anything built using that knowledge. According to their laws, Elena explained to President Mitchell, everything we have built using their technology belongs to them. Our ships, our colonies, our cities, even our people, if they have been changed by exposure to Keth Mori materials. That is impossible, the President replied. They cannot expect us to give up 30 years of progress and return to being trapped on one world. I do not think they will care what we consider possible or impossible, Elena said sadly. As the alien fleet drew closer to the solar system, long-range sensors showed that it consisted of 12 massive ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. The ships moved in perfect formation, their energy signatures growing stronger each day. Humanity's golden age of expansion and discovery was about to face its greatest test. The question was no longer what wonders the stars might hold, but whether humanity would be allowed to keep exploring them. In the depths of space, the Kethmori fleet prepared to reclaim what they considered rightfully theirs. They had no idea that the primitive species they had catalogued 30,000 years ago had become something far more dangerous than they could imagine. The 12 alien ships appeared at the edge of the solar system on a Tuesday morning. Captain Marcus Chen watched from the bridge of his flagship as the massive vessels moved with impossible grace through the void of space. Each ship was 3 times larger than Earth's biggest space station, their hulls gleaming with the same color-shifting metal that humanity had found in the Prometheus. "They are not responding to our communication attempts," reported Lisa from her station. "We have tried every frequency, every language we know, even mathematical sequences. Nothing." Marcus nodded grimly. The alien fleet had been moving toward Earth for 2 days, maintaining perfect formation. Their ships showed technology far beyond what humans had achieved, even with 30 years of studying Kethmori designs. These vessels bent space around them as they traveled, making distances shorter and allowing speeds that should have been impossible. "Captain," called Tom from the sensor station, "something is happening to the Prometheus facility in Antarctica." On Earth, Dr. Elena Vasquez felt the vibrations through the floor of the research facility. She had been working late, as she always did, trying to understand more of the Kethmori cultural records. Now the alien ship was awakening systems that had been dormant for millennia. "David, get everyone out of the lower levels," she called to her assistant. "Something big is happening." Throughout the facility, crystal panels that had never shown any activity began to glow with bright light. The air itself seemed to hum with energy. In the deepest part of the ship, chambers that had always been sealed began to open with soft hissing sounds. Above ground, the research team watched in amazement as a beam of pure energy shot up from the buried ship and into the sky. The beam was visible even in daylight, a column of blue-white light that reached toward the stars. "The aliens are activating their ship remotely," Elena realized. "They are waking up systems we never even knew existed." In space, the 12 alien ships received the signal from their ancient vessel. For the first time in 3 days, they changed course. Instead of heading directly for Earth, they spread out into a formation that surrounded the planet. They were taking positions that would make it impossible for any human ship to leave the solar system without their permission. "They are surrounding us," Marcus reported to Earth Command. "We are trapped." Then finally, the alien spoke. The voice came through every communication system on Earth and throughout human space at the same time. It was deep and musical, speaking in perfect English, though with an accent unlike anything humans had ever heard. "Children of the third world of this system," the voice said, "we are the Kethmori, the travelers between stars. We have returned to reclaim what is ours." President Sarah Mitchell was in the Situation Room deep beneath the Capitol when the message came through. Around her, military leaders and scientists watched screens showing the alien fleet positions. Everyone waited to see what would happen next. "We know you have found our vessel and learned from its contents," the alien voice continued. "This was not given to you. This was not yours to take. You will return our ship and all knowledge you have gained from it. You will surrender all vessels and colonies built with our technology. You have 72 of your hours to comply." The communication ended, leaving humanity in stunned silence. 72 hours to give up everything we have built for 3 decades, General Torres said with anger in his voice. "They cannot be serious." Dr. Elena Vasquez had been transported to the Capitol to help with first contact preparations. Now, she sat at the conference table, her elderly hands shaking slightly as she thought about what the aliens had demanded. "They are completely serious," she said. "In Kethmori culture, technology belongs forever to those who created it. From their point of view, we are thieves who have stolen their property and used it to build an empire. But we improved their technology," argued Dr. Harrison. Our ships are better than theirs were 30,000 years ago. Our colonies are more advanced. We took their basic ideas and made them work better." "That makes it worse in their eyes," Elena replied. "We have not just stolen from them, we have made their technology better than they could. That is a deep insult to their pride." President Mitchell looked at the screens, showing the alien ships surrounding Earth. "What happens if we refuse?" "I think we are about to find out," Elena said quietly. The answer came 18 hours later. The alien fleet began what they called reclamation procedures. They started with humanity's newest and most distant colonies, places where only a few thousand humans lived. The attack on the mining colony at Alpha Centauri was swift and precise. 3 alien ships appeared in the system and simply shut down all human technology. The colony's power went out. Their ships could not start their engines. Their communication systems went dead. Then the aliens landed troops. The beings that emerged from their ships looked much like the holograms Elena had seen in the Prometheus. They were tall and graceful, with blue-tinted skin and large eyes. They wore armor that seemed to be made of living crystal, shifting and changing as they moved. But these were not the peaceful explorers Elena had read about in the ancient records. These Kethmori moved like soldiers. They carried weapons that could disable human equipment from a distance and force fields that could stop bullets and energy blasts. "Humans of this colony," announced the leader of the alien troops, "you are living on a world developed with stolen technology. You will be relocated to a world more appropriate for your species' development level." The message was broadcast to Earth, along with images of human colonists being loaded onto alien ships. The colonists were not being hurt, but they were definitely being taken away from their homes. "They are treating us like children," General Torres said with fury. "Like we are too primitive to be trusted with advanced technology." Similar attacks began on other human colonies. The aliens moved systematically, shutting down human technology and relocating populations. But they made a crucial mistake. They expected human technology to be simple copies of Kethmori designs. They were not prepared for the improvements and modifications human engineers had made. On the colony world of New Geneva, the alien attack met unexpected resistance. The human defense systems, built with improved versions of Kethmori technology, were able to adapt to the alien shutdown signals. Human ships equipped with advanced crystal cores that lasted longer than the originals were able to keep fighting, even when the aliens tried to disable them. "Captain Chen," came the urgent message from New Geneva, "the aliens can be fought. Their shutdown weapons do not work on our improved systems. We are holding them off." Marcus felt a surge of hope. For the first time since the aliens had arrived, humanity might have a chance to fight back. But the hope was mixed with fear. The Kethmori had 12 massive ships filled with advanced technology and thousands of years of experience. Humanity had barely 200 ships and only 30 years of spaceflight. The real test was about to begin. The aliens had given humanity 72 hours to surrender. 48 hours remained, and President Mitchell was preparing to give the Kethmori an answer they would not expect. "Send a message to their fleet," the president ordered. "Tell them we refuse their demands. Earth and all human colonies will remain free." Elena watched from the Situation Room as the message was sent. She knew this meant war. A war between humanity and a species that had been traveling the stars since before human civilization began. But she also knew something the Kethmori did not. Human engineers had not just copied alien technology, they had made it better, more efficient, more adaptable. The question now was whether that would be enough to save humanity's future among the stars. When President Sarah Mitchell's message of defiance reached the Kethmori fleet, their response was swift and terrible. The largest alien ship, commanded by Archon Velthar, moved into position directly above Earth. Its weapons began charging, with energy that made the air itself spark and crackle. "Foolish children," Velthar's voice boomed across every communication channel. "You reject our mercy and choose destruction. So be it." But Captain Marcus Chen was ready. For 2 days, he had been positioning human ships in formations the aliens would not expect. Instead of trying to match the massive Kethmori vessels in direct combat, he had learned from humanity's history. When facing a larger, more powerful enemy, humans had always fought smarter, not harder. All ships, execute Plan Defiance. Marcus. Broadcast to the human fleet. What happened next surprised the Kethmori completely. Instead of forming battle lines like traditional space warfare, human ships scattered in all directions. They moved in small groups, using the improved faster-than-light engines to jump around the solar system in patterns that seemed random but were carefully planned. The alien weapons, designed to destroy large fleets in organized formations, had trouble targeting the small, fast-moving human ships. When they did manage to hit a human vessel, they discovered another surprise. Human armor, built with improved versions of Kethmori materials, could withstand much more damage than the aliens expected. Their defenses are stronger than they should be, reported Sub-Archon Kalar to Velthar. Our weapons are having limited effect. Impossible, Velthar replied. They are using inferior copies of our technology. But it was not impossible. Human engineers had worked for 30 years to understand and improve every piece of Kethmori technology they found. Where the original alien designs prioritized elegance and efficiency, humans had focused on durability and adaptability. Human crystal power cores could be overloaded for extra power when needed. Human hull materials could repair themselves even under heavy damage. The first major battle took place near Mars. 3 Kethmori ships attempted to destroy the human colonies on the Red Planet. They expected to overwhelm the human defenses quickly and begin relocating the 2 million colonists. Instead, they found themselves facing a coordinated defense that used tactics they had never encountered. Human ships appeared from behind asteroids, fired their weapons, and then jumped away before the aliens could respond. The Mars orbital defense platforms, powered by advanced human crystal technology, could maintain their shields even under direct attack from alien weapons. This is not how space combat works, Sub-Archon Kalar complained as his ship was damaged by a human attack that came from 3 directions at once. They are fighting like primitives, Velthar agreed. No honor, no formation discipline. They attack and run like cowards. But the human tactics were working. After 6 hours of battle, the 3 Kethmori ships were forced to withdraw. For the first time in their long history, the mighty Kethmori had been defeated in battle by a species they considered inferior. The news of the Mars victory spread quickly through human space. On colonies that had been preparing for evacuation, people began to hope that they might be able to keep their homes. On Earth, President Mitchell addressed the world with new confidence. The aliens thought we would surrender without a fight, she said. They were wrong. We will not give up the stars. We will not go back to being trapped on one world. Humanity is here to stay. But the war was far from over. The Kethmori had 11 more ships and thousands of years of experience in space warfare. They began to adapt their tactics, using their superior numbers to attack multiple human positions at once. The battle for the Europa colonies was brutal. The Kethmori sent 4 ships to overwhelm the human defenses around Jupiter's moon. Commander Sarah Park led the resistance from the colony's command center, deep beneath the ice. They are jamming our communication systems, she reported to Captain Chen. We cannot coordinate our defenses properly. Use the old methods, Marcus replied. Light signals, radio bursts, anything they cannot block. The Europa defense fleet consisted of only 12 human ships, but they fought with desperate courage. When their advanced communication systems were jammed, they used simple light flashes to coordinate attacks. When their weapons ran low on power, they rammed alien ships with their reinforced hulls. The battle lasted for 2 days. In the end, the human defenders managed to save the colonies, but at a terrible cost. 7 of their 12 ships were destroyed, and thousands of colonists were killed when the aliens bombarded the surface. Similar battles raged throughout human space. The colony on Titan was evacuated just before alien forces arrived. The mining stations in the asteroid belt were destroyed, but not before their crews managed to damage 2 Kethmori ships. Every human settlement fought back, and every battle taught both sides new lessons. On Earth, Dr. Elena Vasquez worked frantically in the Prometheus research facility. She knew that military victories alone would not be enough to win this war. Humanity needed to understand their enemy better, to find weaknesses in Kethmori culture and technology. David, look at this, she called to her assistant, pointing to a holographic display showing ancient Kethmori records. "I have found something important in the deepest archives." What she had discovered would change everything. The records showed that the Kethmori were not the original creators of all the technology in their ship. Much of it had been taken from other species, just as humanity had taken it from them. "They are hypocrites," David said as he read the translations. "They accuse us of stealing technology that they stole from others." "It is worse than that," Elena replied. "Look at these records. The Kethmori did not just take technology from other species. They destroyed entire civilizations to get it. The Velnari, the Thekmori, the Zalthek, dozens of species that no longer exist because the Kethmori wanted their knowledge." Elena realized she had found the key to victory. The Kethmori claimed to be noble explorers defending their property rights. In reality, they were conquerors who had built their empire on the ruins of other civilizations. Meanwhile, Captain Chen was preparing for what might be humanity's final battle. The Kethmori had regrouped their fleet and were moving toward Earth itself. 12 massive ships against humanity's remaining 130 vessels. The odds were still against the humans, but they had proven they could fight. "All ships, prepare for final defense positions," Marcus broadcast to his fleet. "We hold the line here. If Earth falls, humanity falls with it." But Marcus had one more surprise for the aliens. Human engineers had been working day and night to prepare Earth's ultimate defense. Using technology reverse-engineered from the Prometheus and improved by human innovation, they had built something the Kethmori would never expect. As the alien fleet approached Earth, ready to end humanity's rebellion once and for all, they had no idea that their greatest defeat was about to come not from human weapons, but from human truth. Elena's discovery about the Kethmori's bloody past was about to be broadcast across the galaxy. And when other alien species learned what the Kethmori had really done during their long reign among the stars, everything would change. The final battle was about to begin, but it would not be fought the way anyone expected. The 12 Kethmori ships moved into their final attack formation above Earth. Archon Velthar stood on his command bridge, looking down at the blue world that had defied his authority. In 3 days of fighting, these primitive humans had destroyed 4 of his ships and damaged 6 others. It was impossible, but it was happening. "Prepare the planet killers," he ordered his weapons officer. "We will end this rebellion by destroying their homeworld." But as the massive alien weapons began to charge with enough energy to crack continents, something unexpected happened. Communication signals began broadcasting from Earth toward every corner of the galaxy. The signals carried Dr. Elena Vasquez's discovery about the true history of the Kethmori. "This is Dr. Elena Vasquez of Earth, speaking to all intelligent species in the galaxy," her voice announced. "We are sharing with you the secret history of those who call themselves the Kethmori." The broadcast contained copies of the ancient records Elena had found deep in the Prometheus archives. Records that showed the Kethmori were not noble explorers, but conquerors who had destroyed dozens of civilizations to steal their technology. On his command bridge, Velthar watched in growing horror as the human transmission revealed genocides his people had committed across the galaxy. The destruction of the crystal cities of Velnar, the bombing of the garden worlds of the Thekmori, the enslavement of the machine minds of Zalthek. "Stop that transmission," he ordered frantically. "Destroy their communication systems." But it was too late. The signal was being broadcast from hundreds of locations across Earth and from hidden transmitters throughout human space. The truth was spreading faster than the Kethmori could stop it, and across the galaxy, species that had hidden in fear for thousands of years began to respond. The first to answer was a ship unlike anything humans or Kethmori had ever seen. It was made of what appeared to be living crystal, changing shape as it moved through space. The being that spoke from it had a voice like singing bells. "We are the survivors of Velnar," the voice announced. "For 3,000 years we have hidden from the Kethmori murderers. Now we see that others fight them. We offer our aid to the humans of Earth." More ships began appearing throughout the solar system. Vessels of metal and light, ships that seemed to be made of pure energy, craft that bent reality around them. Each one represented a species that had survived the Kethmori conquest of the galaxy. Impossible, whispered Sub-Archon Kalar. These species were destroyed millennia ago. Not destroyed, replied a new voice over the communication channels. Driven into hiding, forced to live in the dark spaces between stars while you claimed credit for our achievements. Captain Marcus Chen watched in amazement as his small human fleet was joined by dozens of alien ships. Species that had been hiding for thousands of years were emerging to fight alongside humanity against their common enemy. All allied ships, Marcus broadcast, coordinate your attacks with human vessels. Show the Keth Mori that their reign of terror is over. What followed was the strangest battle in the history of the galaxy. Ancient enemies of the Keth Mori fought alongside humans using technology that had been hidden for millennia. The Velnari crystal ships could phase in and out of normal space. The energy beings of the Luxtar could disable Keth Mori shields with pure thought. The surviving Zaltec machine minds could hack into alien computer systems and turn their own weapons against them. But the most devastating attack came from humanity itself. While the space battle raged above Earth, human engineers activated their ultimate weapon. Using improved Keth Mori crystal technology, they had built a massive energy cannon into Earth's orbital defense grid. "Target the command ship," ordered President Mitchell. "End this war." The energy beam that struck Velthar's flagship was unlike anything the Keth Mori had ever faced. Instead of trying to destroy the ship, it used the same shutdown technology the aliens had used against human colonies. But where the Keth Mori version was designed to be temporary, the human weapon was permanent. Velthar's ship went completely dark. Life support, weapons, engines, even basic communication systems shut down completely. The massive vessel drifted helplessly in space, its crew trapped inside a dead hulk of metal. "Surrender now," Marcus broadcast to the remaining Keth Mori ships, "or face the same fate as your leader." But the battle was already over. The other Keth Mori ships, seeing their flagship disabled and facing enemies they thought were extinct, began to withdraw. Some tried to fight, but they were overwhelmed by the combined forces of humanity and the surviving alien species. Within 6 hours, the mighty Keth Mori fleet was scattered and defeated. Most of their ships retreated to the edge of the solar system, damaged and demoralized. Only Velthar's flagship remained, floating dead in space near Earth. "Bring him aboard," President Mitchell ordered. "It is time for the Archon to face the truth about his people." When Velthar was brought to Earth's capital, he was not the proud conqueror who had demanded humanity's surrender. His blue skin had turned pale, and his large eyes showed confusion and defeat. He had ruled the galaxy for centuries, but now he faced beings he had considered primitive animals. "Your empire is built on lies," President Mitchell told him as they sat in the same conference room where humanity had planned their defense. "You stole technology from dozens of species and then destroyed them to hide your crimes." "We brought order to the galaxy," Velthar replied, but his voice lacked conviction. "We united scattered civilizations under our guidance." "You committed genocide," Dr. Elena Vasquez said firmly. She was now 80 years old, but her mind was still sharp. "We have shown the galaxy what you really are. Your own people are questioning your leadership." This was true. Throughout Keth Mori space, the revelation of their dark history was causing civil unrest. Young Keth Mori who had believed they were noble explorers were horrified to learn they were descendants of mass murderers. Some Keth Mori ships had already switched sides, offering to help repair the damage their empire had caused. "What do you want from us?" Velthar asked finally. "We want you to stop," President Mitchell replied. "Stop conquering other species. Stop stealing their technology. Stop claiming credit for achievements that are not yours." "And in return?" "In return, we offer you something your people have never experienced," Mitchell said. "True cooperation. We will share our improvements to your technology freely. We will help you build a better society, but only if you abandon your empire and join us as equals." Velthar was silent for a long time. The idea of cooperation instead of conquest was foreign to everything he had been taught. But he had seen what humanity could accomplish in just 30 years with Keth Mori technology. He had witnessed species that his people thought extinct emerging to fight alongside their former enemies. "My people will never accept this," he said finally. Some will, some will not, Elena replied. But the galaxy has changed. Your empire is finished. The choice now is whether the Keth Mori will be part of the New Order or continue to fight a war they cannot win. Over the following months, the galaxy transformed in ways no one had expected. The species that had hidden from the Keth Mori for thousands of years began to rebuild their civilizations. They shared technologies and knowledge that had been lost for millennia. Ancient grievances were set aside in favor of cooperation and mutual progress. Humanity found itself at the center of this new galactic community, not as conquerors, but as mediators who had shown that different species could work together for the benefit of all. Human ships carried diplomats and scientists to worlds that had been isolated for thousands of years. Human technology improved through cooperation with dozens of alien species began to spread throughout the galaxy. The Keth Mori Empire fragmented as different groups chose different paths. Some, led by younger leaders, joined the new Galactic Alliance and worked to make amends for their people's crimes. Others, still loyal to the old ways, retreated to distant star systems where they could maintain their traditional culture without threatening others. Velthar himself chose to remain on Earth, working with Dr. Vasquez to help translate and understand the technologies his people had stolen from other species. It was his way of trying to repay some of the damage the Keth Mori had caused. "Do you think we can really change the galaxy?" he asked Elena one day as they worked together in the Prometheus research facility. "We already have," she replied, looking at holographic displays showing peaceful contact between species that had been enemies for millennia. "The question now is whether we can keep it changed." Captain Marcus Chen, now promoted to admiral, commanded a new kind of fleet. His ships carried representatives from dozens of species, working together to explore the galaxy and make contact with civilizations that had remained hidden during the Keth Mori Empire. It was the kind of exploration humanity had always dreamed, of peaceful contact between equals rather than conquest by the strong. On Earth, the Prometheus ship still sat beneath the Antarctic ice, but it was no longer just a source of alien technology. It had become a symbol of how civilizations could learn from each other and build something greater than what any single species could achieve alone. President Mitchell, now serving her second term, often visited the facility to see the progress being made.